And good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition here of Show Blitz as presented by the Men of Steel podcast. Once again, I am your host, Charles Prodigy Richey. And the Steelers are week 7 going into California and in Inglewood tomorrow as they'll be taking on the Los Angeles Rams at SoFi Stadium. This will be the second time the Steelers be in SoFi Stadium. As everyone's aware, the last time they were there were 2 years ago when they lost a close Sunday night game to the LA Chargers that day. Steelers would go on to lose that game of the final score of 37-41. Steelers has definitely had their share of hiccups when playing on the road as far as like in California overall under Mike Tomlin, according to Ron Cook, when we look at everything, where they've been at, and it seems like they just have usually bad luck where it's against like as of late, like the Niners, the Raiders. Interestingly enough, though, they've only lost one time to the Chargers, and it was neither of the San Diego Chargers teams they lost to. It was the LA Chargers, like I just mentioned a moment ago. And they're looking to handle business right now. They had a nice finish going into the bye a couple weeks ago where they're briefly in first place over the Ravens, which they do hold the tiebreaker. Of course, we all know what happened. The Ravens, they did defeat the Tennessee Titans in London last week. So currently, right now, the Ravens, for right now, they have the lead atop the AFC North as they'll be uh, hosting the Detroit Lions tomorrow in Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium, which would be a good contest right now. The Lions are looking to capture their first ever division title. Never done it under the new format, which has been going on for the last 21 years, but the old NFC Central days. And right now, they currently have a 2.5 game lead over the Packers. Well, basically like a 3 game lead since they won the tiebreaker, the first half of their head-to-head matchups, on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks back. They're looking in solid command as of right now. The Steelers right now, again, they trail the Ravens by a half game. So Steelers definitely got some business to take care of at hand, but this is definitely a mixed up AFC North, and they gotta be careful right here, as you can see right now. Aside from that, we'll get back to the California stat in just a moment, but look at everything that's been going around in this division right now. I mean, the Steelers, fortunately, for their own sake, the things that they got going in their favor right now, they have, as far as in the AFC North, not only are they unbeaten in their division, but as far as conference wins, which is one of the top three tiebreakers right now, aside from head to head, they are 3-1 right now. While the Ravens, they do got one more, but they one more than the Steelers at 4-2. But then you got the Browns who are at 500, 2-2. Real good defense right now. It's a great upset over the San Francisco 49ers in Cleveland a week ago. And the Bengals who are still winless at 0-3. But the Bengals right now too. They've been on a 2 game winning streak as of late in the AFC North right now, as they've won their final 2 games. And keep in mind too, I mean, this is a team right now who's been a little frustrated on the offense. It seems like their defense has been doing the trick that has been securing games for them. You look at a team right here who started off the season 1-3. They won 2 straight games against the Cardinals in Arizona, and then against the Seattle Seahawks last week at home, 17-13. Defense needs to be stepping up and making some big plays right there. But anyway, like I said, you look at right now, uh, everything that's just mentioned, and now going back to that stat I just mentioned a moment ago, as far as the Steelers right now, Ron Cook, he mentioned this. They, under Mike Tomlin's tenure as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are 2-6 on the road. when visiting on the road in California. The only two times they have won there was an epic Monday Night Football showdown, and which we saw the Steelers right there, which was huge. They were without Ben Roethlisberger, who got injured. Remember a couple weeks back, the late. I mean, at a noon game Sunday versus the same team, the Rams, but the then St. Louis Rams before they moved back to Los Angeles a year before. Ben Roethlisberger, he will be lost. Uh, I mean, for like over a month, he returned on November 1st was his first game back. But I mean, in that stretch right there too. I mean, you saw right there Michael Vick. He was the starting quarterback for that team, and definitely led a great uh, win right there. I mean, you look at it right there. You had Le'Veon Bell. I mean, uh, just detail everything like Ron Cook just mentioned here. I mean, in that game, uh, when we look at everything, just it was just a crazy scenario. But I mean, it was very vital right there because without that, when they dare say they would have not made the playoffs right there. But Michael Vick, he was starting for the injured Rosberg, threw a 72-yard touchdown pass to Marcus Wheaton to tie the game in the fourth quarter. Then he led the team on an 80-yard drive to win it, 24-20, which Lev Bell took care of it. On a 1-yard touchdown, it was a buzzer-beating touchdown, which was significant because then you would see also too a week later, I believe it was. I mean, Michael Vick would get pulled during the game. You would also see Landry Jones come into that game, who came off the bench, led the team to a victory against the Arizona Cardinals. Mike Tomlin's former offense coordinator, of course, Bruce Arians, right there, who definitely seemed like they've definitely had their uh, mixed relationship, according to the media, on how he was pretty much forced out from the Steelers organization. But either here nor there, I mean, the Steelers right now, they've usually just have a tendency to just struggle against California teams. Let's go over the teams they lost, like some of the most notable ones right there. Look at 2011 right there, for example. Now remember, this was like clearly at least 10 days out from that moment. You had Ben Roethlisberger, who or 11 days out, excuse me, on December 8th. He was him and his team were hosting a close game against the Cleveland Browns. He saw Ben Roethlisberger got gimpy in that game. Almost was doubly sure if he was able to come back or not in that matchup. But nonetheless, the Steelers did manage to hang on and secure that game right there against the Cleveland Browns. But it definitely came with a big time price right there, as Roethlisberger was gimpy throughout the rest of the season, in which they defeated the Browns on a tight net Thursday night game uh, at home versus the Browns, which they won by a touchdown. Only 10 points were total in that game. I mean, a lot of it though too. I mean, for the most part, wasn't really much. But I mean, yeah, it was pretty much the heroes in that game were Jericho Contra and Antonio Brown, who were the beneficiaries of the touchdown passes in that game. Of course, Antonio Brown gained the ceiling touchdown right there. Jericho Contra would have the go-ahead touchdown earlier in that game, pretty much in the first half. They would never relinquish it, but it was tight nonetheless throughout that game. Uh, and we look at it from there. But then, so they would go on to face San Francisco 49ers at Candlestick Stadium before years later moving into Levi Stadium. They lost that game 20-3. Then a year later, too, this be the year they'd be through very pivotal back-to-back years in Oakland, as they were previously known, the Raiders were. In 2012 and 2013, lost both of those games by field goals. Now, I'll tell you what, the first one in 2012, that one was a lot closer where the Steelers let that one get away more so than anything. I think just was real sickening trend right there because in that contest right there, it was a week three right there. Steelers were 1-1, and I mean, this was where the time where Dick LeBeau's defense was definitely really starting to get shaky. At this moment in time, they had a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter. The Raiders would cut it to a field goal with 12-13 remaining, and then after that, later on, Sebastian Janikowski had a pair of field goals, a 32-yard field goal to tie it, and then, of course, a 43-yard field goal to win the game at the end of regulation. They will lose that one 34-31. Of course, what happens too, everyone remember a year later, 10 years ago, as a matter of fact, against the Oakland Raiders. This happened on October 27th. We're just less than a week away from that uh, unfaithful anniversary. The Steelers, for their own part, they were trailing as many by 18 points. But one of the biggest highlights in that game was the very opening play of the game. Terrell Pryor right there, 93-yard run for a touchdown, which set a thunderous tone in that game. 7-zip right there. Steelers would try and make it way to come back. They would cut it as close to 21-18 in that game. And when we look at it, I mean, for the most part, they never had any lead in that game, but they will bring it down to like a field goal with under a minute and a half left. Of course, they tried attempting for an onside kick, unsuccessfully recovered, lost that game by a field goal as well, and 10 years ago. And you look at some of the other ones too. Uh, who will ever forget too? 5 years ago, uh, Oakland Raiders once again being each of those wins right there. I mean, and the Raiders will go on to have miserable finishes to their season right there. They will lose. I mean, and don't and keep in mind too, the Steelers were 7-4-1 previously on a two-game losing streak, and which finished out the 2018 season, where they will go 2-4 the rest of the way after having a commanding 7-2-1 win-loss record atop the AFC North, pulling a real damper, and what pretty much their way to get into the playoffs was for the winning the division uh, wiped out. So each of those losses were significant. They would lose that game right there. I mean, one of the biggest highlights in that game where Ben Roethlisberger had to leave the game due his ribs right there in that game uh, for the most part, and there was a question about Mike Tomlin not going back to Roethlisberger earlier in the game. He injured his ribs late in the first half. Watched from the sidelines, Josh Dobbs came in, rarely did anything for the offense. Final return to the game with 5:20 left. Ben Roethlisberger will go perfect, completing all six of his passes for 70 yards, including a 1-yard touchdown pass to Juju Smith-Schuster that gave the Steelers a brief 21-17 lead. The Raiders would then go on to respond with a 75-yard touchdown for the go-ahead score. And of course, everyone remembers what happens after that. The Steelers would drive, get with field goal range for a 4-yard attempt, but Boswell, for some strange, freakish reason, would slip up on the turf right there, and they're at a chance to keep that game alive and possibly trying to win it in extra time was denied. And then, of course, uh, the other two games they lost during a three-game losing streak to start the season. Of course, remember Ben Roethlisberger got hurt during the second game of their home opener against the Seattle Seahawks. They acquired a surrendering a first round pick and some other high compensation to get Mika Fitzpatrick. Knowing that their offense was going to struggle mightily, they were able to bring him in and he definitely paid some big dividends for this team, as you can see for the black and golds we look at. I mean, they definitely had a very beneficial season that year. Uh, they would go on to lose that game in Levi Stadium this time around, 20-24. This was Mason Rudolph's very first official start as a quarterback. And then last but not least, like I just mentioned, to open the show, uh, return back to the scene of the crime, different team this time. Uh, but also the team they lost to shares the same stadium with the Rams and the Chargers, losing that game 37-41. And we'll see what happens tomorrow, as they'll be going up a great coach and Sean McVay, who right now, I mean, it's just definitely one of the fine coaches of this game right here as we look at it. I mean, who's definitely knows how to keep his team motivated. And the Rams, it's definitely borderline right now. I mean, it's still up in the air. Are they going to be sellers at the trade deadline, or can they still keep the thing going where they can make another playoff run? I'm not sure about a Super Bowl run, but just something legitimate right here. I mean, look at Sean McVay right now. Everything that he's been able to do. He's become the youngest coach at the age of 36 years old to win a Super Bowl. Of course, Mike Tomlin, who was recently the prior youngest coach back when he won it in the 28th season, was also 36 years old. But anyway, right now, I mean, Sean McVay, I mean, he's a true still in this game when it comes to coaching, keeping his team motivated, just creating some unique concepts right here to get his team involved with offensively. They made the sacrifice to get a guy like Matthew Stafford. So far, it's paid off. But again, last season, one would argue too, who's been hurt with his throwing elbow for most of the season. He has returned, and he looks like he is looking crisp right now for this team. Trying to remind why they brought him in here to Los Angeles. They also got like a nice extension too, shortly after winning the Super Bowl. But I mean, you look at a guy like Matt Stafford right now, who is doing pretty solid right now, 279.5 yards per game. Uh, the only thing is, right now, he's been a little bit sloppy taking care of the football, which should be a good thing for the Steelers right now. They could take advantage right here. He's got 6 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, and he's definitely been sacked 16 times. So that's one thing to keep an eye out in this game. But however, I mean, this team has got like a loaded squad still nonetheless. I mean, Cooper Cup, I know he's been pretty much uh, hardly available as of late. I mean, with his injury going back to last season, I mean, you look at this guy right here too. I mean, a lot of people were wondering if he could be the first receiver at that point in time a couple of years ago to be in the running for like eventual MVP for which no receiver has ever done. I mean, that arm may have to go to Tyreek Hill, possibly, who could put his name in the running right now. But I mean, it's the 2022 season. He only had, I mean, nine games he played in, and then after that, he was lost for the season. His last game he played was prior to this season was against the Arizona Cardinals in a 10-point loss. But he is back. He has been back since October 8th, a couple of weeks ago, and looking to continue to heat up, trying to pick up where he left off. He has season high in reception yards this year, 148 receiving yards total off of 7 catches. He's caught 7 of 9 targets right there. Pretty much a very good clutch receiver. No need to say more about this guy right here. So let's go ahead and get into the roster news right here. Speaking of which, speaking of receivers, Steelers, they did place tight end Pat Freiermuth on IR, and they released wide receiver Gunnar Olszewski and activated Deontay Johnson. Of course, prior move, he had a setback Thursday in practice with the hamstring injury that forced him to sit out of action for week 4 at Houston, and now at least miss another 4 more games. There's no retroactive designation for the game. He already missed, so Fryermuth won't be eligible to return from IR until the November 9th trip to Cleveland after missing matchups with the Rams, Jaguars, Titans, and Packers, and that's definitely going to be a huge, a void to fill in right now. Who's definitely one of their guys, but I mean, we haven't seen enough of Darnell Washington yet either, too. Who the Steelers drafted this year, by the way, and it's definitely going to really be interesting how they utilize how they want to go scheme up things here under Matt Canada right now, who's definitely, of course, been dealing under a lot of fire right now with this team. I mean, who's made some impressive moves. I'd still say they won in spite of Canada a couple weeks ago versus the Ravens. I mean, defensively, once again, saved them. But I mean, there's still a lot of hope right now. Mike Tomlin likes what he sees in Kenny Pickett in terms of being a competitor. And right now, you look at a guy like Darnell Washington, who's hardly been utilized in this system as of yet. He was he was their third round pick, 93rd overall in this year's draft, coming out of the national champion Georgia Bulldogs right now. And we'll see what happens right there because this is definitely going to be a key matchup right there. He is a backup tight end to Pat Freiermuth. I definitely like to see if any connection, chemistry with Pickett and Freiermuth will get going. But I mean, at the same time, too, everything going on, too, how much more will they get a little bit more creative now? Now that Deontay Johnson's back, what do you do now? You start seeing the chemistry with Pickett and Pickens right now. I mean, Pickens, yes, he's been has 393 receptions, but he's also dropped 18 passes for the season, which is most drops this year off of 40 targets for 22 receptions. But however, too, when you look at a guy like Pickens, too, he's tied with Frymouth for 2 touchdowns. I mean, which is not to say a lot. Then Mike Tomlin too, going back. I mean, talk about what he did during this bye week. Why was self-reflection and analysis should be a springboard for better strategy, better performance, better divisional labor. And of course, we all know about Trubisky as of late. I mean, he's been struggling at special teams, especially some incredible muffs too. I mean, which has definitely really been hampering this team. Nearly cost him a couple weeks ago. I'll tell you, versus the Ravens right there. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, it was definitely. I mean, for right now, he's just definitely just been making some hiccups. I mean, while trying to be a return specialist here, and it's just definitely been hurrying, almost hurting their chances of like doing anything more with it. But I mean, you look at Olszewski right there. I mean, it was just definitely been up and down time. I remember he was definitely, I think, very key against the Patriots a couple years ago in their home opener, and it's definitely been some heartache right there with him. But Gunner right now, he was specializing this season with so many gas on special teams and his lone offensive touch. He caught one pass for 1 yard in week 2 against the Browns, but the fumble and a big hit that also left him in concussion protocol. That followed a kick return that he fielded near the sideline and ended up out of bounds at his own 11-yard line. Now, earlier this Monday, Brooke Pryor said that the Steelers were opening the window for Deontay Johnson, who's coming back. And McFarland was returning to practice, but both were on IR at the point. But the good news is seeing Deontay Johnson back, see how he could gel and fit right in with this offense right there, and just give an idea right now on the injury report too. Right now, so far the only guy they have ruled out is Pat Fryermuth, again, who's been placed back in IR. Now, one thing to keep an eye on too right now is TJ Watt, who actually popped up on the injury report on Thursday with a heel injury. He didn't practice, but he practiced on Friday right now. Who's having a monster start, one of his fastest starts in ever with the black and gold. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, this guy right here, who's definitely a clear monster and maybe arguably better than his brother JJ Watt. But I mean, still, I mean, when you look at this guy right here, I mean, who started off the season, I mean, for the most part, I mean, for this team, I mean, when you take everything into account, I mean, 8 sacks. I mean, to start off the year, it looks like he's got unfinished business trying to get the sack record going. But I mean, for the most part, too, I mean, it's just definitely been incredible to continue to watch him phenomenally grow. I mean, just be at the prime of his career. But I tell you what, that was a miserable time period last year. I don't think the Steelers want to be without him for any lengthy time. I mean, for the most part, and it's just definitely, I mean, something you just gotta hope he continues to stay well because if not, if he's gone for any time, this season go a whole lot more sideways. It'd definitely be real interesting right now. And as we look at uh for the black and gold right now, I mean, the Steelers are definitely going to have their work cut out. But speaking of some defensive news right now, Cam Hayward should be expected to return in Week 10 versus Green Bay Packers, according to Jerry Dulac, with a question mailbag from the fans I was reading up. But anyway, for the most part, a lot of interesting stuff going on right here. You heard about them struggling on the road in California. And right now, we'll see what else tends to happen. But I mean, there's been a little bit more question too. I mean, if the Steelers can continue to dominate the Rams' shaky offensive line, and what else? But we'll see. But I mean, can Mika Fitzpatrick finally help find a way to make some splash plays on the defense right now? I mean, the good part for the Steelers entering this game versus the Rams right here. I mean, when you think of everything, I mean, they have got 4 interceptions for the year. Oh, excuse me. 5 interceptions this year, and also 6 fumble recoveries, 11 total takeaways, and the turnover ratio right now they are +5 in the turnover battle, which currently ranks in the top 10 at eighth, and the Rams are -1 this year. Then also too, I just want to just wrap up real quickly too as we get a little further right now. Byron Leftwich right now, who shortly after, like a day or two later, was reported that he reached out to inquire about some role with the Steelers offense, possibly offensive core there. He was let go in the 2020 after the 2022 season where the Bucks point total dropped from top three in his uh his first 3 seasons, excuse me. I mean then to first 4 seasons, excuse me. No, first 3 seasons. Including his first 2 with Brady, which led to a Super Bowl to 25th in his final season. He's had a 5-year coaching background. I mean, 5-year coaching background, beginning with the Cardinals in 2018, the Bucks offense coordinator. His yards have ranked in the top 10 4 times for an average of fifth, with his highest rank being second in 2021. He is currently available at the age of 43. Before getting the coaching, Leftwich enjoyed a 9-year career as an NFL quarterback, making 51 starts during his career. That included one start as a member of the Steelers in 2012. His final season in 2008, Leftwich replaced an injured Roethlisberger and helped lead the Steelers to win over Washington Monday night. So let's go ahead and wrap this up real quick. Keys to the game. Key number one will be a fast start. The Steelers, they haven't had an opening drive touchdown since week 15 of last season. And of course, that was a game where Mitch Trubisky, he filled in, started over Kenny Pickett, who was injured. I believe he was in concussion at that time. Have to double check, but uh, came in versus Panthers, kept them very alive in that playoff picture right there. I mean, it was just incredible what they were able to do. They were 2-6 after losing to the Bengals, and somehow managed to get to 7-2 to finish off the season, 9-8. I mean, missing the playoffs, not by a long shot. But here's the bottom line. I mean, 6 out of 37 games, they've had an opening drive for a touchdown on their first possession. And you got to go all the way back to since they were on the road versus Panthers. That's going to be definitely problematic. They had to correct that in a hurry right there. Key number two for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game right here. When we look at it, I would definitely think with also two would be trying to contain guys like Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee still names to be reckoned with. I don't care how much Cooper Kupp has missed. He's still Cooper Kupp at the end of the day. Gotta imagine he'll be worked gradually into this game right here. Gotta imagine he'll be targeted a lot in this game. He's got 15 receptions out for 266 yards. And then you got Atwell right now, too. Who's another one to throw into the mix at the receiver. He's tied for the team with 2 touchdowns this season right there. So keep an eye on those guys right there. It'll be definitely be defending those receivers right there, keeping them in check because and then key number 3, taking advantage of a controlling and protecting the line. So winning at the line of scrimmage on both fronts right there. I mean, as we just mentioned right here, I mean, the Rams right now for this season, who have been shaky, they've surrendered right now. I mean, for this year, 16 sacks for 124 yards, while the Steelers have surrendered 14. But yet, on the flip side, right now, they, for the most part, I mean, sack wise, Steelers have got 17, which TJ Watt has half those totals right there. Remember what happened a couple weeks ago? I mean, last time versus the Houston Texans. I don't expect that to be the case this time. I think they'll have no problem getting the Matthew Stafford, the quarterback, and CJ Stroud right there in Houston. Definitely way too fast. Speed Gonzalez on that team. I expect no issues right there. And then, of course, another key right there on the defensive side, what they'll have to watch out. Speaking of like protecting the offensive line, you still got to reckon with who's still on this team, former Pitt Panther and LA Ram, of course, Aaron Donald. Mike Tomlin had some high praise for Aaron Donald going into this matchup as we look at it. But I mean, nonetheless, too, I mean, you look at everything that he's been able to do for right now. And I mean, he's just still a guy you don't want to ignore right there who'll definitely make his presence felt.
Obviously, we better be wary of Aaron Donald and what he's capable of. I'm not going to get into the details of his resume. You know it. 3-time Player of the Year, 7-time first-team All-Pro. He needs no endorsement from me. We better do a good job of minimizing any additions to that resume in this stadium this weekend. And obviously, you work your tail off to minimize his impact on the game, but I imagine that week in and week out, everyone does that, but he still does what he does. And so we're preparing with an edge in that regard. Got a lot of respect for what he and they are capable of. They mix a lot of things, fire zones, bogus pressures. They come home some. Some are done just in an effort to ensure one-on-ones for talented people like Aaron Donald. And so minimizing him is a difficult task coupled with the schematics.
So, I mean, there you go. One guy to keep an eye on too. I mean, it looks like more than likely we're going to be seeing Dan Moore Jr. Starting over Broderick Jones at the left tackle position. Now, remember, they did try consider moving Broderick Jones to right tackle, thinking that might have been his natural position according to Moore. But Moore, who's definitely kind of struggled in my opinion. Jones played well against Baltimore. Jones is supposed to be the left tackle of the future. The time is now. But again, Chris Hoke was recently saying that Mike Tomlin has the stubborn mentality of not having a starter lose his job due to injury. Pittsburgh had no plans to bench Moore before he got hurt, so they're not compelled to keep him there once he's healthy. They follow a simple formula: injured, sit, health, play. But there's a bigger reason than that. No, Moore hasn't played well this season. So if you're so inclined, according to Pro Football Focus's numbers, they grade him out as the league's worst tackle, 76 out of 76. His pass block rate is 9 points lower than 75th and nearly 20 points worse than 74th. How much more you want to exacerbate this, we'll see. But if he is playing either him or Brock, whoever, they're gonna have to have their hands full against not only Aaron Donald, but Byron Young right there, who have actually combined for 5.5 sacks right now. And both of them are monsters at hitting the quarterback. Young leads the team with quarterback hits at 11. Second is Aaron Donald with 8. And of course, great tackles lost. That goes to Aaron Donald right there with 8, which still leads the team. And you just got to imagine those be right there protecting off the edge. So that's going to do it for this edition here of Showblitz, presented by the Men of Steel podcast. I'm going to predict a Steelers victory in this game. It was definitely going to be a lot close, but I like their chances this time in SoFi Stadium versus what was a couple years ago versus the Chargers. But anyway, you can follow me on my Twitter X at Men of Steel CGR, Instagram at Men of Steel Nation. As always, leave it. Don't be trolling. Be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I go.
This has been our story all year, hasn't it been? 60 minutes. It's never going to be pretty. Throw style points out the window, but these guys will fight to the end. And I take my hat off to you, and I congratulate every last one of you.
Thank you for watching the Men of Steel podcast with your host, Charles Prodigy Richey, here on YouTube. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And for all the latest Men of Steel podcast episodes, feel free to download them on Mixcloud, Anchor.fm, and SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts.